Good morning. It's good to be here with you guys. Yeah. All right, let's stand up and worship together.
Through every battle, every heartbreak, every circumstance, I believe that you are my fortress. Oh, you are my portion. You are my hiding place. Oh, I believe you are the way, the truth, the light. I believe you are the way, the truth, the light. I believe through every blessing, through every promise, through every breath I take. I believe that you are provider. Oh, you are protector. You are the one I love. I believe you are the way, the truth, the light. I believe you are the way, the truth, the light. I believe you are. Oh, you are. Let's sing it out. It's a new rising, and I'm set on you. And you meet me here today. The mercies that I knew, all my fears and doubts, they can all come true, because they can't stay long when I'm here with you. It's a new horizon, and I stand on you. And you meet me here today. The mercies that I knew, all my fears and doubts, they can all come true, because they can't stay long. But I believe you are the way, the truth, the light. I believe you are the way, the truth, the light. I believe you are. It's a new horizon, and I set on you. And you meet me here today. The mercies that I knew, all my fears and doubts, they can all come true, because they can't stay long. But I believe you are the way, the truth, the light. I believe you are the way, the truth, the light. I believe you are. Oh, you are.
Amen.
Our fight is with weapons unseen. Your enemies crash to their knees as we cry out in worship. When trials unleash like a flood, the battle
Sing a new song this morning. The song is called Waymaker. It talks about how our God is the light in the darkness. He keeps his promises. He's a miracle working God. So let's sing these words together.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. Oh, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are.
Sing that again.
Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship
Good morning. We are so glad to have everybody here, especially on a rainy morning. I know sometimes when it's raining in the morning, I like to stay in bed and stay warm and cozy. But we're so glad to have you here. And those that aren't here, that are on Facebook, we're glad to have you as well. If today is your first time and we somehow missed you coming in, please don't let us do that. There are blue cards in the backs of the seats. You can grab one and fill it out and then take it to the desk at the very end of the building at the front door and give that to them, and they will get you a free gift and give you any other information that you need. If you will check your bulletin, you'll notice we've got several things coming up. First off, this week is Halloween, and on Thursday night for Halloween, we always do a big Halloween event for the neighborhood and for the church. It's 6 o'clock. If you're interested in volunteering, you can sign up at the front door. Also, Tuesday night, we have a service for our teenagers from 6th grade to 12th grade called Reach. We love our teenagers around here, and if you've got a teenager that has not plugged into Reach, we would love to have them. We're doing a big Halloween event. Tuesday night, there's going to be games, there's going to be food, there's going to be music, there's going to be lots of fun stuff. And then also our Thanksgiving meal is coming up on Thanksgiving on November 28th. That's always a big deal for us. We love to feed people. We love to eat. So if you're interested in helping out with that, please see anybody with a lanyard, or you can talk to the people at the front desk. Also, if you have any other questions about our church, especially if this is your first time, you may have gotten here by our website. We have information on our website that we would love to share with you. At this time, I'm going to ask the ushers to come forward. Here at Journey Church, whenever we give of our tithes and offerings, if this is your first time, we ask that you just let that bag pass on right by you. But if you do count yourself a member, we ask that you give whatever God lays on your heart, whether that's a normal weekly, a normal monthly, or whatever he asks you at that time. So let's go to God in prayer. Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for the chance to come together, that we can know you, that we can worship you, that we can praise you, Father. And so I pray that at this time that we would give back to you what you've given to us, that the things that you've given us we realize aren't our own, and that we would give you what we need to give, Father, that we would give with a generous heart. So I pray that in all that we say, all that we do, and all that we give, that it would be done for your glory. For it's in Jesus' name, amen.
Good morning. Good to see everybody. It's a good day. Glad you're here. Gonna have some fun. Before I get started, let me ask you a question. How many of you like to put a smile on somebody's face? Like to make a difference in their life? Keep your hands up just a second. Just get a picture. Get a picture. All these people, thank you just volunteering for hospitality. We thank you so much. It's an amazing opportunity. It is that you can impact, but it really is that simple. You have an impact on somebody. Same, you can do the same in our kids programs and our parking programs and everything. But I know hospitality. Lori just asked me. She's in need of some help, and it is a chance just to put a smile on somebody's face. Can you imagine? Some of you, I bet somebody here today, you probably dropped something in the water coming in and you got messed up. Your kids splashed in the mud. And you're having a bad day, and you walk in, and what you see is a smiling face. Say, "Can I get you a cup of coffee? Let me help you carry that in." It makes all the difference in the world. So if you want an opportunity to change people's lives, it's a good place to start. Is by serving, and especially in serving in what we call God's house. So be a part of that. You can see our volunteers. If you see somebody with a lanyard, just grab them and say, "I want to help. I want to make a difference in somebody's life." I think it's important, and I want to be a part of it. I know my wife's sitting over there. I see some of you around. She's into kids and just all kinds of opportunities. So take advantage of it. At the end of the day, it makes a difference. It absolutely makes a difference. So with that said, let me jump into this. We're changing gears a little bit today, and this was just something I don't know, way back when I started thinking about, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit because it was actually kind of eye-opening to me. I've read this book. I try to read through it annually, but I've read it, and every year I read it, something kind of jumps off the page in a little different fashion. It doesn't change. My season changes, and I see it, and I read it kind of in a different light. But so I want to talk about today, this country, we love games of chance. Have you ever noticed that? We just had the fair, and how many of you, I got to ask this, I was thinking about this. How many, and I don't even know if they still have it, do they still have the goldfish in the little bowls, and you throw, how many goldfish have you killed? I mean, I used to win them. I'd get them home, and they were upside down by the time I got them there. But I thought, that's a game of chance. You spend $1 or whatever, and you throw your ping pong balls the way it used to be. And if it landed in it, your kid got the goldfish. And you're thinking, there's another service down the toilet. He's going to get flushed. But anyway, it's a game of chance. And we love, in this country, we love to gamble. We love to bet. We'll bet on anything. Interestingly, and you can't get a number on this because it's illegal, but I was doing some research. It's estimated in this country, think about this. Think about with all the plight and all the problems we have, It's estimated in this country alone that we spend somewhere around $4 billion, that's with a B, $4 billion on illegal sports bets. We like to bet. We like to bet. We like games of chance. We like to gamble, and we buy lottery tickets. We bet on anything and everything. And now let me go ahead and tell you, for those of you who are getting nervous and got a lottery ticket, and he's going to bash gambling and lottery tickets, sit tight. That's not what I'm here for at all today. Matter of fact, I'll get to it in just a second. But if you got your lottery tickets, hold on to them. I'd be interested if you win, because we are going to talk about that. And if you did win, please come up and tell me. And I've got this thing in the Bible that talks about tithing. And I'm just saying, we're going to play the game. Let's talk about it. So, but if you got a lottery ticket or if you got a bet on the game, don't get nervous. I'm not here. This isn't a message on the doctrine or theology of gambling. As a matter of fact, it's kind of interesting. The Bible's kind of quiet on it. It speaks to casting lots, and there's some things in there about that. As a matter of fact, in the Old Testament, they cast lots to see who got what portion of land. New Testament, I think we see them casting lots to select the right people for the right position. So the Bible speaks to chance, and I'll get to something in a few minutes that I've never thought about until I was working on this, when it speaks to chance. But so the Bible's pretty quiet on gambling and good, bad, or indifferent. Now, people say, but so are you saying it's good or bad? Here's what I would say. You have to define what bad is. Here's what you really need to define bad, because if consistently losing money is okay with you, then it's probably not bad. You think about that. If consistently losing money is okay with you, then it's probably not bad if you have the money to lose. And some people do. We always spend money on things that are unnecessary. I do it. It's not necessarily gambling. I don't gamble, and I don't play the lottery. I've got 2 lottery tickets. I'm going to go ahead and confess, and I'll get to that in a minute. But it's not something I do, but I blow money all the time on things that aren't necessary. Tammy and I went and saw a movie a couple of weeks ago. That wasn't really necessary. And sometimes they're entertaining and sometimes they're not. I stop and get junk food, not necessary. Actually, it's not even good for me. So you can argue this all you want, but that's not what today's about. I'm not here to make an indictment on whether gambling is good or bad. But if you don't mind giving away money on a regular basis, then your definition of bad is different than mine. And I'll give you a good example of what that looks like, what I've seen. I remember when North Carolina first got the lottery system. And yes, I'm that old. I remember it, and I remember it well. I was working, and I had walked across the street. There was a little convenience store there, and I wanted a cup of coffee. So I walked in, and people at this time, and some of you can appreciate this and remember, people would line up to buy lottery tickets of any shape or size. And a person in front of me had bought a lottery ticket, and they started squealing at the top of their lungs. And I thought, oh my gosh, they have won and won big. I'm an inquisitive guy. Now, some people would say I'm just nosy. I call it inquisitive. So I walked over and said, I got to ask, how much money did you win, if you don't mind me asking? And the person looked at me and said, $5. I thought, I paid $5 for a cup of coffee. You won $5, good deal. I said, can I ask how much the ticket or how much you spent was? He said, $20. I thought, you didn't do well in math. You didn't do well in math. You lost 20. You lost 15, actually. But you didn't make any money. You lost money. So, you know, if you've got it to blow and that's what you want to do, it's not a bad thing. Now, to speak to gambling just a minute, and then I'm going to get off the gambling part of it. We're going to speak to games of chance and what chance looks like. But another example, and this is where gambling can lead to some issues. Never will forget, I hadn't been in ministry long, and someone came up and out of the blue challenged me on gambling. And I'd never talked about it. I'd never preached on it. At that time, I hadn't preached on anything much. I was just getting started. And they said, what do you think about gambling? Gambling's okay. Bible doesn't speak to it. And I said, well, technically you're right. The Bible doesn't speak to it much. It speaks to the casting lots and some things like that, but doesn't really speak to it in that sense. He said, well, I think it's okay. I said, okay, good for you, good for you. And I couldn't understand it at first, and then it hit me. They wanted me to say it was okay. That's all they wanted, was me to say it's okay that you blow your money, that you give away your money knowing that you're not going to win. But then the whole course of this conversation, I knew this person, I knew them well. And I knew they were starting to have a problem, because somebody came up to me and said, we might need to talk to them. They're having a problem with this issue, and they're losing more money than they have, and it's starting to hurt the family and so on and so forth. And I'm thinking, okay, I got to get through to this person somehow. So they were telling me how ultimately that gambling was okay and there was no problem, trying to get me to say that was okay. And I thought, and normally I'm not real good at this. I like to talk sometimes, but I just listened and listened and listened. And finally, after they got through, I said, I got one question for you on this gambling issue. I said, what does your wife think about it? What does your wife think about it? they said, well, she doesn't know. I just tell her I'm going out with the boys and having dinner. Now, that's a problem. Because now you're lying. Now you're lying. So the gambling's not the issue. It's the covering it up. And if you had to cover it up, you must have thought something was wrong with it. So, I mean, that's just the bottom line to it. But if you can do it and you don't have to cover it up and you've got the money to blow, and we all do that. Well, not all of us have money to blow, but then okay. But if you got to start lying to your spouse, then you've got some problems there. And you need to wrestle with that. But again, not what I'm here to talk about today. I want to talk about that we love games of chance. And really what it boils down to is, as I kind of process and wrestle with this, is really risk and rewards. Risk and rewards. And you're going, I don't know where any of this is going. Well, I'm going to get there, but it's really about risk and rewards. I'll give you a good example. I did go buy a lottery ticket. And this is how little I know about lottery tickets. I wanted the one where you win like $200 million. And I said, I want a lottery ticket. Well, they gave me this thing, Lucky for Life. Now, I had to go online. I thought, I don't even know what the heck this thing is. So I went online, and the grand prize for Lucky for Life is $1,000 a day for life. Now, here's what's really sad. I don't know if I won. And here's what's even sadder is I don't really know how to find out if I won. So I'm going to plug all this in just a little bit. And I'm pretty sure Tammy and I are now making $1,000 a day for life. And I did my math. I think that's $365,000, which so now my salary's doubled. So it's incredible. Go buy a new car, honey. It's on. I'm kidding. That's not quite double. I'm getting in more and more trouble here, aren't I? Woo, I'm lying from the pulpit. We'll talk about that next Sunday. Come back. So anyway, $365,000. So the reward is tremendous. The risk in this case, $2. And I'll be honest, right now I have $2. It didn't hurt me to blow. It kept me from buying a Coca-Cola, which quite honestly would have been worse for me than this piece of paper, because I had no infatuation that I was going to win. I was going to win $1,000 a day for life. And if I did, the way it goes, I got hit by a train when I walked out of the building. My wife would have got a check for $5. He made it 1 hour. So anyway, $1,000 for life, $365,000 a year. But here's the interesting thing: risk and reward. $2. You know what the chances of winning was? 0. Now that's not true, and I'm going to give you the number. But I have no chance of winning that. Virtually 0 chance. To be exact, the chance I have of winning that is 1 in 30,821,447. No chance. No chance. Well, but you got to play to win. I get that, and somebody's going to win. Chances are you're not going to win. Did you get the numbers? 1 in 30,821,447. And you're going, well, I got a chance. I may win. You do. You've got a chance. But I'm a visual guy. I need to see things. I need to see I'm tangible. I want to touch it. I need to understand what that looks like. And I'll be honest with you, I can't fathom 30,821,447 anythings. I can't. So I started thinking, okay, I got to make this visual to me. So if I took this box, let me confess, this box is not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be 12 by 12 by 12. Do you know how hard it is to find a box that is 12 by 12 by 12? You can't do it on the last minute. So anyway, this is close. But if this box were 12 by 12 by 12, and it was full of pennies, it's really not. If it were full of pennies, it would hold 49,152 pennies. That's a lot of pennies. That's a lot of pennies. So if you took those pennies and you neatly stacked them in there to get that many in there, and you stacked them all heads up, every penny in there's heads up. Now somebody, don't go home and see if you can get 49,000 pennies in that box. Just trust me. Google said it, so it's got to be true, right? So I stacked the pennies in there, all of them, every one of them's heads up but one. And I tell you, you got to find the penny. That's your chances of winning. Well, that would be incorrect, because here's what it really looks like. Again, I'm telling you, I'm visual. So if I took a box and put it on the front corner there, and I took a box and put it on the front corner there, and let's again go back to their 12 inches. So I could get right around 35 boxes across there. And they're each full of 49,152 pennies, stacked heads up with the exception of one. You're going, okay, that's a lot of pennies, probably not going to do it. I'm still not done. Because here's what you got to do. So I did that. So now you've got to stack them up 18 rows high from the floor. So you kind of get in the picture. So now you got a box. You got 18 rows high up from the floor, 18 rows high up from the floor, solid. Now this building in the center is 14 feet. Okay, so you're now 4 rows up, and I'm talking about square, not falling. Square up. That's how many boxes of 49,000 pennies you have. And 1 penny in one of those boxes is on tails. Now I can start grasping that. I'm thinking, guess what my chances of winning Lucky for Life is? None. But the risk was nothing, $2. $2. And if I do, guess what? Tammy can have a new car. I'll pick it out. But you get a new car. It doesn't, does it? I bought the ticket. I love you, dear. You know it. You can pick it out. But that your chances are almost zero. You do have a chance, but it's marginal at very best. It's marginal. Y'all going, where is this going? Listen, I was having so much fun, I had to do it. I went back. I'm addicted now. I bought a Powerball ticket. I'm going to Gambling Anonymous next week. No, I'm kidding. I've spent less than probably $20, $30 in my life on lottery tickets. I bought a Powerball lottery ticket. Don't know if I won this one either. Here's what I'm thinking. We won them both. We won them both. Man, we are set. Tell it. That's right. Listen, I have great faith. I do. My faith is solid. And my faith is this. We didn't win anything. Listen, I know the chances. I know the chance. We didn't win anything. But I bought this Powerball ticket. Let me tell you what your odds on winning this one is. This is crazy. 1 in 292,201,338. Did you get that? 1 in 292,201,338. Guess what you're not going to win today? You're not going to win Powerball. Not going to win Powerball. Now, I had to do my same penny thing. This is crazy. So take the same scenario, there to there, and go up. And go up with it. And again, they're all neatly stacked on heads, but 1 penny in all of these boxes. And all of these boxes, 49,000 pennies. One box has got 1 penny that's tails. Now, so here's what you would have to do with that. That's 5,994 boxes. And only 1 penny. Now, not one in each box, but only 1 penny. 5,994 boxes. That's 155 rows above the highest point of this ceiling. How many of you are spending your lottery winning? Don't. You've got almost no chance of winning it. So some of you are going, okay, Mark, we get it. We get it. You're telling us it's a waste of our time to buy a lottery ticket. Depends on what your definition of bad is. If you like throwing away money, nope, buy a lottery ticket. I would even say this, quite to the contrary. I don't think it's bad that you play games of chance, especially in our spiritual life. Now we're going to get into the Bible side of this. Especially in our spiritual life. I don't think it's bad. I think this is indifferent. If you got $4 that you feel like you can afford to blow, and this is how you get enjoyment, go buy 2 lottery tickets. Listen, deep down, it's probably better than a Coca-Cola. I won't even give a brand name, and I love cheeseburgers. It's probably better for you than a Coca-Cola cheeseburger and order of fries. The cholesterol's twice as bad for you. But the chance thing, no, there's not. Listen, let me tell you what. In our spiritual lives, I think we're called to take a chance. Actually, I know we're called to take a chance. We just are. And we need to understand that. We need to understand why. And it's interesting to me, in reading this book, how things sometimes take a different perspective as I read through them. And I was reading in Matthew the other day, and I stumbled across this, and I thought, something I've been wanting to talk about, so now's the time. But Jesus, when he walked on earth, taught in parables. An amazing teaching tool. So powerful. And if you're here today and you're not a follower of Christ, you don't own a Bible, and you don't know what we're talking about, a parable is simply this. And again, it's just a teaching tool. It's a way that Jesus got points across that were relevant to the culture at the time he was talking to. Still works today, it worked then, and it'll work from now on. But a parable is simply this. It's a story cast alongside of a truth that would have been relevant to the culture. So Jesus, trying to make a point, would take something that's relevant to him. He would take a truth, a story, and then cast the truth along beside of it that made sense. And in this case, and this one makes perfect sense. The parable is about sowing. And at that time, you've got to go back to when Jesus walked on earth. And listen, eating, just as it is today, back then was critical. We had to eat. The difference was Walmart didn't exist, Food Line didn't exist, Kroger, Whole Wallets, and Trader Joe's. They didn't exist. So if you wanted to eat, you had to grow food. And so they understood that concept. And also back then, you have to understand this, they hadn't experienced the agricultural revolution that we've experienced today. And by that, I simply mean this. Tammy and I live in the midst of farmland. And I love to watch these guys when they come out. These guys farm a lot of land. They've got tractors that are as big as my house. I mean, 8-wheel drive, and the bush hog folds out, and then it folds out again. They got this huge equipment, and it's all because of an agricultural revolution. We have to feed a lot of people. Well, back then they had to feed everybody, and they did that through these farming practices. They just hadn't advanced. They were actually very primitive. So Jesus is using this parable. He's going to teach a principle because Jesus is just now, he's walking on earth, so he's just now teaching about himself and what to expect and what's to come. So it's relevant to them. They understand sowing seed. So that's what Jesus is teaching. He uses this as a parable, and he talks about sowing and how we've got to do that to survive, how they had to put out. And they understood that parable. It made perfect sense to them. And the way they sowed seed back then, again, today it's amazing to watch these guys. They can come in and there's about a 30-acre field directly in front of our house. And literally within probably an hour, they've put their chemicals down, they put the seed down, and they're gone. It's crazy. I'm told with technology today, they don't even have to have a driver in the tractor. That GPS, they can bring their tractor to the field, they program it, and it will plant the seed, it will put out the fertilizer where and plot it the way it needs to, and it leaves. They don't even need a driver. It's incredible. Back then, they didn't plant that way. It was very primitive. So much so, they didn't even really till the land. At best, they scratched it before they would sow the seed. And it's still a method used somewhat today. They broadcast sowed the seeds, which simply means they would take a handful of seed and throw them. And they would fall at will. The seed would just hit the ground at random. There's no rhyme or reason to it. The ground may have been scratched. It couldn't have been tilled. They didn't have the means to do that. And they had to do that so they could eat, that the seed would fall on the ground, and then they would have a harvest and they could survive. And they had to understand this too. They had to do it year in and year out. Growing season in, growing season out. Whatever the growing seasons were, they had to sow the seed, they had to plant them, they had to hope they fell on fertile soil, and then they would harvest the crops. And Jesus knew that the culture, the people he was speaking to, understood that concept. So now we start talking about the point he's trying to make. And this is new stuff. Jesus is walking on earth, and he's the hope. He says, listen, I am your hope. And you need to understand that. And we need to sow the seed so others will hear, they will know, they'll grasp, and then they will grow and they'll survive. And Jesus understands that, and he's teaching that concept, and he does it in this amazing parable. Now again, think about this. This was the method they had back then. They would scratch and scatter. Scratch and scatter the seed. That's all they could do. Scratch the ground, scatter the seed. Scratch the ground, scatter the seed. That's the principle. That's the way they farmed back then. So Jesus says, we're going to have to do the same thing now. We've got to spread the good news that I'm here, that I'm your hope, I am your resurrection. Probably wasn't talking about the resurrection. Yeah, he probably was because he knew it was going to happen. But it's new. His ministry is new, and he's trying to spread the word. He's trying to sow the seed. And he gives us this amazing parable that speaks to me today, and it speaks to the people of that time, and it speaks directly to chance. Directly to chance. And I'd never thought about that until I was reading it this time. But listen to what he said. And this is in Matthew 13, verse 1 through 9. And again, if you don't understand what a parable is, just think about that. Think about farming and sowing seed. Now think about Jesus, and he's trying to sow the seed, the good news of him being here, walking on earth, and the hope that we have in him. And this is what he says. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into the boat and sat in it. While all the people stood on the shore, then he told them many things in parables, saying, a farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly, but because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came, the plants were scorched, and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop 160 or 30 times what was sown. He who has ears, let him hear. Now, did you get that? So Jesus said, listen, the farmer went out and he threw seed. And it fell on the path, it fell on rocky soil, it fell on soil that was going to be choked out by thorns, and some fell on fertile soil. And it grew, and it produced a crop, a yield. And he said, that's the way it is now. That's what I need you to do. I'm the good news. And you need to cast out the seed. We need to cast out the seed. And this is one of the great frustrations in the church, is I know Jesus is the hope of the world. And I'm thinking, why doesn't everybody grasp that Jesus is the hope of the world? I don't get it. He is the only hope. And I'm throwing out the seed. Well, Jesus promised us that. And honestly, if you think about it, he gave us the statistics on it. He gave us 4 scenarios: the path, the rocky soil, the soil with thorns, and the fertile soil. And what did he say? He said 3 out of the 4 will fail, or 75%. That's a game of chance. But he said, I want you to throw out the seed, nonetheless. So what he said, listen, they understood that. Because if they didn't plant seed, guess what was going to happen? No crops. They were going to die. So Jesus he's just casting, he said, listen. And for the church, that speaks volumes, because people say, well, why do we do what we do? It makes no difference. Jesus told us 75% of the time it was going to probably fall on bad soil. It probably wasn't going to get enough roots to support itself. But 25% of the time, it's going to be game-changing. And when that 25% takes root and it grows, then the 25% yields a crop of 100%, 60%, or 30%. Pretty amazing when you start looking at the odds. It's pretty powerful when you start thinking about it. And I think it's kind of it's an indictment on the church today, because we get frustrated. I get frustrated. Why don't people hear? Why don't they come? Well, why don't we keep sowing? Why don't we keep sowing? I mean, you can micro this down. Maybe it's in your own family. Maybe you've cast a seed and they've kept falling on hard soil. Maybe they fell on the path. It's hardened and they won't grow. Any of those 3, and it won't grow. But I would say this: every season re-sow. And maybe where we've missed the boat a little bit is maybe we need to do a little soil preparation. Because I think one of the things we've done with some of our nonsense is we've poisoned the soil, not tilled the soil. We've poisoned it. We've made it hard for people to come when that was never Christ's intention. Matter of fact, James, his brother, said make it easy for them to come. Now, we got to tell them the truth. There's no ifs, ands, ors about that. We've got to share the truth, and we've got to do it boldly. But we've got to till the soil a little bit. And I've met so many people that's been hardened by the church and by so-called Christians, and I'm thinking, man, we just need to till the soil. Because Jesus told me that. Listen, he gave me the percentages. He said, listen, 25% going to fall on the path. It's so hardened. Their hearts have been hardened. They're not going to hear and receive, and certainly not the first time. And he says, some of them it's going to fall on the rocky soil, and they're going to get excited. And we've seen it. We've seen people come into church and they get so fired up, man, I'm all aboard. And then they wither and they die. And then we plant it, we throw the seed and it fell in the thorns, and we get excited, but then the first sign of problems, we're gone. And that gets frustrating. But guess what? It's a new season. We throw more seed out. This is the other thing I've learned. I've experienced this, because when I think I'm empty and I'm dry and I've got nothing, Jesus is going, I'll refill the bag. I'll just refill the bag. And guess what? When I refill that bag, Mark, 75%, 25% is going to fall on the path. 25% is going to fall on the rocky part. 25% is going to fall on the thorns. But 25% is going to come back. And it's going to come back big. Oh my gosh, isn't that crazy? So why do I get frustrated when Jesus said this? Listen, that's the way it's going to work. You're going to throw out a lot of seed, and a lot of it's going to fall on unfertile soil. And I would just say to the church today, to you and I as followers of Christ, if you're here as a follower of Christ, maybe we just need to do a little better job of tilling the soil. Maybe we need to start preparing it a little more. Maybe we need, again, I'll go back. It's as simple as this. Can you imagine a single mom or a single dad pulling in the parking lot? And they got a couple kids, and it's a tough morning, and they didn't really want to come. I mean, let's be honest, they didn't want to come. They didn't want to get out of bed. It's raining. They don't want to come. Can you imagine? You want to talk about tilling the soil and how simple it is? Can you imagine meeting them with an umbrella? Here, let me help you. Can I get that bag for you? Let me walk you in. Let me till the soil. I want to help it become a little more fertile, because we're going to throw out some seed in just a few minutes. We're going to tell you about a guy named Jesus, and I want you to be in the best position to be receptive of what we're fixing to tell you. Here, let me hold this umbrella for you. Let me walk you in. Oh, now that you're in, your children, let me help you get them checked in. They go over, this one goes here, this one goes here. That one can go home. He's out of line. You can take him home. I'm kidding. But you guys were getting too serious on me there. We till the soil. Maybe it's somebody with an addiction. We talked about this a couple of weeks. Hey, sinner, come on in. No. Hey, Bill, Cindy, Fred, Mary, come on in. Come on in. No, you got some problems. We don't even have to say that, but we know that. Can we get you something? We treat them with respect. We till the soil. We're constantly tilling the soil. It's all about tilling the soil, because, listen, Jesus told us this. Whether you like chance or not, that's irrelevant, because Jesus said, listen, you're going to throw out some seed. 25% is going to fall on a path that's been hardened. It ain't going to grow. Birds are going to eat it, as a matter of fact. 25% of it is going to fall in the rocky soil. It's not going to get much roots on it. They're not going to grow enough to get roots and stay with this. 25%, same deal. It's going to fall on the thorns. It's going to get choked out. The first time heartache comes, it's going to get choked out. But 25%, by the way, much greater than this. 25% is going to fall on fertile soil. So I think to tip the odds, let's just start tilling the soil a little more. Let's see if we can't till the soil a little more. Because this is pretty cool to me. When Jesus taught in parables, and I love this particular parable, because people say, well, I'm not sure I completely understand it. I'm sure that's what they were saying. We understand we've got to sow seed to live. We get it. We're still struggling a little bit with what's the different soils. Jesus said, let me tell you. So if you go to stay in chapter 13, pick it up in verse 18. Listen to what he said. Listen to what the parable of the sower means. Go figure. I'm going to tell you guys. Here's what it means. Here's what it means. Verse 18, verse 19. When anyone hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in the heart. This is the seed sown along the path. The evil one comes and snatches it away. Listen, their heart's been hardened for some reason, whatever reason, and that doesn't really concern me. Why? The question is, how can I till the soul? Because their heart's been hardened, and the evil one being Satan, will come and snatch it away. The one who received the seed that fell on the rocky place is the man who, listen to this, who hears the word and at once receives it with joy. I see it all the time. I am so fired up. Jesus is the way I hear that. When we get excited and we get, man, we're going to do everything. But since he has no roots, he lasts only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, he quickly falls away. You mean I got to do that for this? I'm out. The one who received the seed that fell among the thorns is the man who hears the word, but the worries of his life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke it, making it unfruitful. How many times do we see that happening? Wait a minute. I've got this going on in life, and I've got enough money, I can take care of this, I've got it all. That's the problem. We start thinking, I can take care of it, I can win the lottery, and I'll pay off my bills. It won't happen. It won't happen. And that's what Jesus tells us. But the one who received the seed that fell on good soil is the man who hears the word and understands it. He produces a crop. Go, make, baptize, and teach. You've heard us say that. He produces a crop yielding 100, 60, or 30 times what was sown. Isn't that crazy? It's amazing. So why would we ever stop sowing seed? What would we have a promise? Whether you're statistical or not, listen, Jesus said everything you throw out is not going to work. Matter of fact, only about 25%. But it hit me. I thought, okay, if 25% works, why wouldn't we just keep on throwing out? And then this speaks to church. Why wouldn't we throw it out in a broader, if we're going to broadcast sow, let's broadcast sow. I mean, come on. Let's instead of just throwing it out with our hands, let's get a leaf blower and see if we can't blow it out even further. I mean, whatever. I mean, I think about Paul says, I became all things, did all things to reach a few. Man, if we can, whatever it takes to reach more people. Let's throw it, because 75% is going to fall on soil that won't produce. 25% on the other hand is going to produce, and that 25% is going to produce 100, 60, or 30 times what was sown. Here's the beauty too. 75% of our seed, our sowing, is going to fail according to this. 75%. 75%. That's sad. In school, that got me in a lot of trouble. If I asked 75% of the questions, and Robert and Evelyn, that was my parents, found out, it wasn't going to go well. 25% wasn't good enough. And Jesus said, that's what you can expect. But can you imagine? Can you imagine? Think about it. And it's ironic. This church has been growing at about 25%. Can you imagine if we just keep plugging along at 25%? If we just keep throwing out the seed. Now, I want to throw out more seed. 25% on 100 is 25. 25% on 200s, you can do the math. 50. Just keep going. When you just keep multiplying. You know what? We're talking about, and he says no. He says no, not that. That's not the case. 100 times, 60 times, or 30 times. The beauty of this bag, too, is it does not run dry. We can keep sowing. The seed is good. The seed is good. The seed is always good. Christ is always good. Something else I've learned. Those who truly receive Christ, here's the chances. Those who truly receive Christ, 1 out of 1 will have eternal life. That's a good chance. You talking about risk and reward? Man, that's out of the park. 1 out of 1. Because really it does boil down to risk and reward. It really, I think it is. It's risk and reward. And as I think about it in my life, I'm so glad somebody risked sharing the gospel with me. Man, I am so thrilled. And I was blessed. It started in my house. But so many people today, they don't have a home for it to start, so it's got to start somewhere. And it's got to start with the local church. It's got to start with the local church, man. We've got to take a risk. We've got to sow the gospel, knowing and not being offended that 75% is going to fall on this concrete and it won't grow. But 25% is going to return huge yields. Because this I have learned too. You want to talk about chance? Without Christ, this is everybody in this room. This is everybody, period. Without Christ, you have no chance. You have no chance. Did you get that? I'm sorry. And if that's upsetting to you and to the worldly world, that would be very upsetting. What do you mean? Well, you have no chance. If you don't have Christ, you have no chance. With Christ, you don't need chance. You have Christ. You have Christ. You don't need chance. You don't need lottery tickets. You don't need to play the odds. You just beat the odds. You have Christ, and that's powerful. So it really does boil down to risk and reward. And when I look at it now, for me, I have no risk in this. The only risk I have is if I quit. If I quit, who did I let down? Who did I let down? Who did I not? Okay, I don't feel like throwing seed out today. I'm not going to. Wow. Can you imagine Christ going, I don't think I want to die today. I'm not going to the Christ because I'm not going to the cross today. It doesn't work that way. Because this is true too. The greatest reward, risk and reward, the greatest reward is Jesus. The greatest reward you and I will ever receive. Period. Listen to me. The greatest reward that you and I don't care who you are, I don't care what you're worth, I don't care what you have, I don't care your position, I don't care how good you are, I don't care how bad you are. The greatest reward you and I will ever receive is Jesus. And he doesn't care about any of that. He just wants us. He just wants us. Play the lottery. It's okay. Play the lottery. Don't be offended when you don't win. But if you're a follower of Christ, then cast out seed. And don't get upset when it falls on unfertile soil. Maybe it's a sign. And again, I'm telling you, you can micro this down. Maybe you need to start tilling in your own home. Maybe that's where you need to start right now. Maybe there's some soil that needs to be tilled. And you know, I hear people say sometimes that's the hardest person to tell about Jesus. It should be the easiest thing you ever do. I still think about a pastor I heard years ago. This is so powerful to me, and it's kind of driven me in my life. When we fail to tell people about Christ, we fail to tell them the good news, we fail to cast out the seed. This is tough, guys. I'm going to tell you, some of you won't like this. But when we won't do that to anyone, much less the ones we love, here's what we're saying. I really don't care if you go to hell. Oh, that's what we're doing. They have no chance without Jesus. Do you get that? The only real reward is Christ. It's the only reward you need, and we have no chance without Jesus. So if you're a follower of Christ, I would just ask you, are you tilling the soil and are you casting out seed? Are you casting out the seed that may fall on fertile soil, may change somebody's life? And if you're here today and you're not a follower of Christ, I pray that you'll just keep coming back and let us keep trying to till the soil and cast out seed. And maybe if you're here today, you kind of associate with one of those four types. Maybe your heart's been hardened. I don't know. Maybe you're like the path. It's so hard. Just come back and spend some time with us. Maybe it's rocky and you get excited and then things happen and you fell away because you didn't grow. You didn't dive in this word and you didn't stay with us because it's go make, baptize, teach. Maybe you didn't get the teaching part. And maybe you were in the thorns. Maybe you were in the thorns and hardship came and financial problems and you started chasing worldly ways and it choked you out. And if that's the case and you're one of those, then I would tell you this, we're going to keep throwing out the seed. We're just going to keep broadcast sowing. We're going to keep trying to till the soil and make it more palatable for you that it starts sinking in and wait, there's something to this. Don't know what it is that you guys have. I don't know what it is you do. I'm not even sure if I agree with you, but you sure do treat people well. You treat each other well and you treat people that don't look like you well. That's when we're tilling the soil. That's what we need to do. It's what we have to do. Because 75% is probably going to fall on hard soil. It's probably going to fall on hard soil. Let's pray. Let's pray. Father, thank you. Thank you that you've provided us everything we need to share the good news of your Son, Jesus Christ. Thank you for the parables. Thank you for putting a truth beside of a story that we can understand. And these people at that time understood if they didn't sow, it would die. They would die. And I understand today if we don't spread the good news, people have no chance. Because your son Jesus is the only chance. He's the only reward we need, and he is the only chance. So thank you. Thank you for giving us that hope. Thank you for giving us that model that we can practice and put into play. So just be with us. Help us to continue to push. Help us to continue to push. Even when our backs are against the wall, that we continue to push to share the good news of your Son, Jesus Christ. So be with us. Be with everyone in this room today. I hope somebody, some way, is impacted, and they'll go out and maybe they'll sow a seed, or maybe their heart has been softened till they receive the good news. What an amazing day that would be, Father. But this I know, you're in charge, and I thank you. And we give you all the praise. Amen.
so glad to have y'all here this morning. If you are a first-time guest, please make sure you stop by the front desk and get your welcome gift. Also, we have people that are willing to pray with you or talk with you if you have need of that. Other than that, have a great week. We hope to see you Thursday.